and then we're going to hop right on into the show. I knew I was forgetting something. And the thing that I was forgetting was that I have not set this up yet for TikTok. And so TikTok just saw the two of us staring with just completely dead eyes, thinking nothing, no thoughts, empty mind, into the abyss and into the darkness for a while there. So that is the one thing I forgot. But for all the rest of you, welcome on into TWIG, your weekly, geekly, family-friendly news show that tackles everything from saying goodbye to Comixology to welcoming Sam Altman to Microsoft with some games in between. If you're listening on the podcast version of the show, be sure to give us a good review. Click that like button if you're over on YouTube or wherever you might be, or come and listen live on Twitch every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern here on any of our various streaming platforms. Folks, we're going to start the show off as we always do with our What Did You Watch? What Did You Read? What Did You Play this past weekend? And I'm actually going to start off with our guest who is joining us tonight with what they watched, play, and read. But first, introduce yourself, then get into that.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm the Digim intern here at Checkpoint. I watched one thing this weekend, that is all, because I had so many things to do this weekend. So I watched Pompeii, the movie from 2012, with, what's the guy from Game of Thrones, which is honestly not a bad movie, considering how bad classics movies tend to be, but that was for class. I spent the rest of my weekend doing Thanksgiving things and writing papers.
Gotcha. Well, that takes up a lot of the time. I find that anytime I'm on like holidays or vacations, I always tend to not do as much as I would like to do. As far as what I've been watching, playing, and reading, I have been watching Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, the new Scott Pilgrim show from Netflix. And I will just say, this is my spoiler-free, hot take, initial like thing that I thought about it. And that is that I did not think that this was going to be great. Like, I wasn't super excited. I love Scott Pilgrim, but I was like, do we really need this story to be told again? And so I was not super jazzed about it. I was like, maybe I'll watch it and just see how it does. And then I listened to a podcast where Brian Lee O'Malley says that it's a very different story, and I'll be doggone, it's a very different story. It has taken a lot of turns, and I am back in because I love the world of Scott Pilgrim. The art is really, really fun. The animation is great, and the story is drastically different from the story that I know. So I'm absolutely here for it, loving it, and that is 2 thumbs up from me so far. We'll see how it continues to go as the season wraps up and if they're planning on future seasons. And then I am playing Steins Gate, which is a visual novel from, I don't know, the mid 2000s, late 2000s, or aughts era as it was. And it has been one that has perpetually sat on my backlog of like, eventually I'm going to play this, but I don't know when I'm going to play this. And it finally just RNG'd onto my screen. So I have been playing it. It did take about 16 hours to get good. So it is a good old school visual novel like they usually do. But now that it's good, it's real good, and I'm super into it. And then I've been reading Wayward, the second in the Wayward Pines series, and also our book club book, which is Johannes Cabal. So I've been getting through both of those, as well as continuing to catch up on One Piece and just binge that whole series. I think I'm like on chapter 925 or something. So I'm getting real close to catching up with One Piece, and I absolutely cannot wait to get to the other side of that one and say that I've officially caught up and start reading weekly. That's going to be super cool. If you're in the chat, let me know what you might be watching, reading, and playing in your schedule right now. But with that, we are going to get started with our first article of the night. And we are talking about, of course, what everybody's talking about, the biggest trending headline right now in the world of technology. And that has to do with OpenAI, particularly with Sam Altman. So I'll kick us off with this one. Microsoft has recently made a significant move in the field of AI by hiring former OpenAI CEO Sam Altman and the company's co-founder Greg Brockman. These two individuals will lead Microsoft's newly formed advanced AI research team. This decision follows a rather dramatic series of events where Sam Altman was dismissed from OpenAI for allegedly lying to the company's board of directors, or as I saw it put several times, lacked candor or was not fully candid or something. Sam Altman has been a key figure in transforming OpenAI from a nonprofit research laboratory into a globally recognized commercial enterprise, leading the charge into an era of generative artificial intelligence. Can you tell this was written by ChatGPT? His role in the development and success of OpenAI, especially with projects like ChatGPT, has been significant. The hiring of these two prominent executives from the company that created ChatGPT marks a notable development in the AI sector. Came out after a weekend full of dramatic events that not only shocked the AI community, but also highlighted the rapidly evolving landscape of artificial intelligence technology and its growing importance in the tech industry. This move by Microsoft demonstrates the company's commitment to advancing its capabilities in the field of AI. By bringing on board individuals with proven expertise and leadership in AI, Microsoft appears to be positioning itself to further innovate and expand its presence in this cutting-edge field. The development of their new advanced AI research team under the guidance of Altman and Brockman could lead to significant advancements and contributions to the world of artificial intelligence. So, this is big stuff. This is a lot. This is anxiety producing, especially for me, who is very much into the world of AI right now, very curious about it and poking around in it constantly. I've already had trouble logging in to my ChatGPT account. So it's like, oh boy, is it starting already. We've seen some kickback already of people quitting and a mass exodus that's taken place here. So it's a big deal. Does this affect your life at all, Chris?
No, not that I know of.
Y'all are probably not
I
even
don't.
allowed to use AI, are you? Is it like a written honor code or anything in college?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm definitely not allowed to use it for school stuff. My only contact with it is through you, and I don't even directly use it. So
Yeah. Well, it's very helpful and it helps move up the process of a lot of things. And I use various different companies' AI platforms, but there really has not been anyone that's quite as useful, at least to my line of work, as ChatGPT. So I'll be super bummed if this actually does crash the company. I hope that Microsoft quickly picks it up. I've seen a lot of people nod to a Nokia crash, which I know very little about Nokia. I have no idea when that happened or how that happened. But apparently it was a similar thing where they lost their CEO and then they were bought up. The company itself was then bought up by Microsoft or someone of its equivalent. So maybe that's what's happening again. We're seeing some kind of behind the scenes succession work going on, but it's definitely a weird situation. It was a weekend that nobody expected. I certainly thought that AI was so strong right now, we wouldn't see any of the leadership take any steps in any direction, that it would just continue going up and up and up and up and up. But clearly that is not the case. Catching up on some of our Play Watch reads, Sneaky Pig says, watching Star Wars movies with I'm assuming Star Wars, yeah. Star Wars movies with the boys, playing all the Alan Wake 2. I just finished it today. Reading Holly by Stephen King. And then Leancifer says, it's not new, but I was enjoying Wake Up Carlo on Netflix. Rock on. Okay, with that, let's get into our next news story. Take it away, Chris.
RIP Comixology. Amazon has announced a significant change for digital comics enthusiasts, the merging of Comixology, a digital comic distributor and publisher, with Amazon's Kindle platform. This integration, effective as of December 4th, 2023, signifies a substantial shift in how users will access and manage their digital comics. Comixology, acquired by Amazon in 2014, has since undergone a gradual integration with Kindle operations. The latest move furthers that integration, with Comixology Unlimited becoming part of Amazon Prime. All previous purchases made on Comixology will now appear in users' Amazon purchase histories alongside Kindle books, streamlining access to digital content across platforms. The merger involves combining Comixology's digital comics library with the Kindle application across various operating systems, including iOS, Android, and Fire OS. This decision has received mixed reactions from the internet community, with some expressing dissatisfaction. The original Comixology app will be discontinued, emphasizing a shift towards a more unified digital reading experience under the Amazon ecosystem. As part of this transition, the updated Comixology app will now include books that were previously exclusive to Kindle. Users are required to merge their Comixology accounts with their Amazon accounts to access the new app and continue enjoying their digital comics, graphic novels, and manga. This development is a significant move in the digital comics space, reflecting Amazon's strategy to consolidate its services and offer a more seamless experience for its users. While it marks the end of the standalone Comixology app, it also represents an expansion of Amazon's digital content offerings, potentially reaching a wider audience through its well-established Kindle platform.
So I personally don't use the Comixology app. I get most of my manga and comics and that kind of thing either from the library or from the Viz Media app. That's where I get my manga because it's like $2 a month and I can totally make that swing. But Comixology never really like made the sell for me. I didn't ever get into it. And granted, I'm just not that into comics really. So that may have a big part of it. I'm more into the manga scene. But well, I mean, it sounds like this is not really going to impact anybody unless they're just diehard fans of Comixology and are kind of sad about the acquisition. But it sounds like this was pretty inevitable anyway.
Yeah, they were definitely moving towards it, sounds like. I've never used it before, but I also get my comics from the library usually, but that'd be interesting to hear what my like comic podcast people have to say about it because I'm pretty sure they
Right.
use this pretty religiously.
Yeah. And honestly, that's a thing that's important to me. Like if we ever got a like I've never made the switch to Spotify for podcasts, and I feel like they've tried again and again to make that switch, and I just refuse it. And I feel like this is a on par kind of move of I think that if I were a part of Comixology or something, and it was that important to me, then I wonder if I would be more impacted like I would be if my podcast platform drastically changed it. But I don't know. I'm interested. I'm curious to hear if anybody in the chat has any experience with Comixology or any emotional grip with this. And this is tough for them to hear at all. I know we have some folks in the community that do use it, but again, kind of sounds like this is just another Amazon move and hopefully making things easier. I've also heard that the Comixology app is notoriously buggy. So there's a chance that maybe this will fix some of those bugs, which would be nice. But then again, the Kindle app is pretty buggy too. So I'm not optimistic. Wise and Lemur catching up on those watch play reads. Not much piece of media I'm watching, but a piece of science news. The overarching ornithology organization is renaming about 80 birds that are currently named for people. That's fascinating. I had not heard anything about that, and I don't know how I would have if you hadn't told me. But I think that is super interesting information that I would like to know more about. If you want to share that information in like a random channel in the Discord, I'd be totally down to read more about that. With that, we're going to move on to our next story, which is about those cursed bubbles. I want to first apologize to everyone. I am a green bubble. If you didn't know that about me, I am one of those. And so I'm the one that always irritates people with my green bubble. And that may be ending or it may not be changing at all. But either way, texting between companies is going to get a whole lot more safe. And a significant update slated for 2024, Apple is set to integrate Rich Communication Services, or RCS, into its iPhone messaging, enhancing the standard messaging capabilities on iPhones. This change, while bringing modern messaging features like read receipts and better media sharing, will maintain the distinct visual identity of iMessage. iMessage chats will continue to be represented by blue bubbles, whereas RCS messages will be denoted by green bubbles. This decision underscores Apple's effort to modernize while preserving the unique characteristics of iMessage, which has been a pivotal part of Apple's ecosystem, creating a visual distinction between iPhone users and others, thus reinforcing user loyalty to the brand, which Apple has been incredibly transparent about from the get-go. So, green bubbles aren't going anywhere, but again, at least the encryption of RCS is coming somewhere, and we'll get a little bit of a change there. What I didn't understand from the article itself was whether or not RCS between Apple phones will still be green if it's RCS. Like, is it only non-RCS iMessage? Can you turn it off and then it turns to a blue? Or are they just saying that Apple to Apple is going to be blue like it always has been? I have no idea. Are you also a green bubble, or are you an Apple? You're
I'm a
also
green
that
bubble.
friend. You're the one that always
I'm a
gets dogged on.
green bubble. I will never not be a green bubble. Actually, my friend group is pretty evenly split, and it doesn't really matter because we use Instagram for messages instead because
Ah,
there's no OS issues if you're all on Instagram.
that makes so much sense. Yeah, I feel like that was the rise of WhatsApp too. And so like WhatsApp and now Messenger and all that stuff, that's all kind of come out of a we're not going to deal with Apple being Apple and we're going to keep getting what we get and then still do the things and more in our own way. So yeah, most of the messages
Which
that I send are in Discord. I mean, I don't really text anybody, but
right.
pretty much my wife and my parents. It's like those are the people that I text, and everyone else, it's on a messenger platform.
Yeah. And I use the Google Messages app, which is catching up in terms of like now I can react to messages
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. I don't actually know why I can't always.
Yeah.
But I actually think now Apple is equally like annoying for me because I can't react to their messages.
Right.
as I was to them, but it doesn't show up different colors.
Yeah, we've just gotten. So I do the same messages app through Google, and I have it set up on my browser so that I'm able to text via there, and I can react easier in the browser more consistently than I can on my phone whenever it's between Apple people. So I have no idea. Communications. I mean, if we're being honest, all this stuff is just like smoke in a machine that I don't understand anyway. So I'm just glad any of it works at all. But yeah, it's a complete mystery to me. I just hope that this is the right step forward to maybe Apple being a little bit less Apple, because I could use a little bit less Apple in my life and maybe a little bit more cohesion between the techies, but I'm not optimistic about that. We'll see where the future goes there. Another catching up of Read, Watch, and Play. Trombone says, I've been working through manga from the library, finished my section of The Promised Neverland. I need more. We always need more Promised Neverland. But I have to wait until I'm back at the library. I'm glad you're enjoying that series. It is a real classic. With that, we're going to get into the next news story. So take it away, Chris.
The New Age update for MapleStory, a long-standing 2D fantasy MMORPG, has sparked significant backlash from its player community. The discontent is evident in the way players have nicknamed the update as the Sewage Update, playing on the words of its official title. The community's frustration has led active calls for boycotts, particularly targeting the game's upcoming Black Friday sale and the use of the hashtag #Don'tSpend. This reaction is also reflected in the game being review bombed on Steam, indicating a widespread dissatisfaction among players. The negative response is surprising given the game's sustained popularity since its inception in 2003 and its usually enthusiastic player base who would typically welcome new content. However, the New Age update has instead resulted in a large segment of the community expressing anger, pointing to significant issues or changes within the update that have not resonated well with the players. The specific reasons behind this negative reception are not detailed in the sources, but the extent of the reaction suggests that the update may have introduced changes or features that are not aligned with player expectations or preferences. This incident underscores the importance of game developers maintaining a close connection with their game communities, especially for games with a long-standing and dedicated player base.
Do you have any idea what MapleStory is, Chris? Have you ever played MapleStory?
No.
I wondered if you highlighted this, if it was just like random or if you had a connection. And yeah, this is very much on here because I played MapleStory back in the day, back whenever the login screen looked like this. I remember the classic days of MapleStory. It was a very brief time period where everyone's heard, not everyone, but most of the people that are usuals here at Checkpoint have heard the story that I did not have internet in my home growing up. And that is true, except for the course of 1 year. There was 1 year where my brother had to take some sort of online tests or something to complete a GED situation. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he was working on something. He had to have internet. So we got internet for that year, and then we got rid of it hot. But during that year, I got MapleStory and played hours upon hours upon hours of this MMO. So, it says audio still not going out. I'm sorry, TikTok. We can just wrap up on TikTok because I don't know why we're not having audio send there. Yeah, we'll just wrap up there because that's going to be super distracting if anybody else comes in. We'll play with it later. So yeah, I played the heck out of this MMO. It was really my only MMO I've ever gotten into. It was very like chibi anime-esque, which of course people know that I'm a weeb, so I lived for this. But I always like to highlight whether I was a fan of the platform or not, the fact that we have this kind of weird situation going on in the world of microtransactions and just all that mess going on in the internet. So if anybody has any connections to MapleStory, then hey, we're a part of a very, very small and niche interest group, but I'm assuming that it might not be many of us. As Mayfly says, welcome to Mayfly first off, and second, no valid facts. Last week's twig was Mayfly's twig, but this one appears not to be. Okay, we're going to get into the next story with that, and it revolves around Netflix. So Netflix, in a move reflecting its ongoing content strategy adjustments, has recently canceled 5 of its shows. The list includes the popular live-action series Shadow and Bone, alongside Glamorous. Additionally, 3 animated shows, namely Agent Elvis, Farzar, and Captain Fall, have also been axed. This decision comes as Hollywood is reorganizing its production schedules post various industry strikes, suggesting a strategic reevaluation of ongoing and planned projects by Netflix. The cancellation of these shows, particularly Shadow and Bone, which had garnered a significant following, indicates Netflix's shifting priorities and possibly a reassessment of what content aligns best with its future direction. While the specific reasons behind the cancellation of each show are not detailed in the sources, such decisions are often influenced by a variety of factors, including viewership numbers, production costs, and the overall fit within the streaming services portfolio. Netflix's action here may reflect an effort to streamline its offerings and focus on titles that promise higher engagement or align more closely with its strategic goals in a highly competitive streaming market. So I have not gotten into Shadow and Bone, but I remember Derek White in particular, the Geek Preacher, randomly he mentioned it to me at one point and said how much he loved it. I definitely have seen the book series kind of escalate pretty drastically on store shelves. And so I think that people do care about it and have been caring about it, but it's definitely not been in my circuit. There you go, Mayfly. You did have a fun fact. Prince Caspian is in that show. Now you know. Yeah. Do any of those shows?
Yeah, I've never seen it, but I know that. I haven't watched any of those. I know the Shadow and Bone book series is big, but I don't know if I know anybody who's watched it, or at least they haven't told me about it. But
I feel like it was
I'm
all
surprised
a
I can't.
part of that Six of Crows. Wasn't it related in some way to Six of Crows? Because I know I read that recently, and we talked about how there's like this Grisha-verse or something, and some of the characters from Shadow and Bone like show up in Six of Crows or vice versa. So there's like mishmash between this universe and this thing that the Grishaverse is creating. And so I know very little about it, so I can't speak adequately about it, except to say I have a feeling if this is a community that has named its own metaverse, they're going to be pretty afflicted by this, and I think it's a big bummer to see Netflix walking this one back and taking a step away. The others I've literally not even heard of, so I think that those are probably like not going to rock anybody's world too hard, but it does seem like Netflix has a tendency of doing this and has become a little bit infamous in a way for doing like a season or two and then canceling the rest, whereas you go on the other side and you've got like Harley Quinn that I think just got approved for like season 5. So HBO never let a thing die. Well, that's not always true. Warner Brothers sometimes don't let a thing die. They go a little too long with it, maybe. And then you've got Netflix that can't seem to let something go on long enough. So it's interesting. I'm curious to know if any of you are fans of Shadow and Bone, if you're particularly afflicted by this one going on the wayside. But with that, we're going to get into our last trending headline of our main news section. So take it away.
YouTube is set to implement a new policy change in the coming months that will require creators to disclose if their videos were created using generative artificial intelligence. This update was announced in a blog post by YouTube Product Management Vice Presidents Jennifer Flannery O'Connor and Emily Moxley. The new rules aim to address the growing use of AI in content creation, particularly in generating videos that appear realistically made by humans. These new disclosure mandates are part of YouTube's broader effort to combat misinformation and to ensure transparency in content creation. The platform will require creators to clearly state if AI has been used to create or significantly alter the content. Failure to comply with these disclosure rules could result in content removal, suspension from the YouTube Partner Program, or other penalties, underscoring the seriousness with which YouTube is approaching this issue. The introduction of these rules reflects YouTube's recognition of the rapid advancement and increased use of AI in video production. By requiring creators to disclose AI-generated content, YouTube is taking a proactive approach to maintain the integrity of its platform and help viewers make informed decisions about the content they consume. This policy change is indicative of a growing trend across various platforms to implement measures that address the ethical and practical implications of AI in media production.
Yeah, this was a big deal. I will say before we actually talk about the actual thing, I had to Google that person's name because I was like, surely like GPT messed up and pulled in an outside source and combined Jennifer Flannery and Flannery O'Connor. Her name is Jennifer Flannery O'Connor, which is a very famous like author. So that was intriguing to see that name pop up. And I was like, I don't understand. So now I want to know everything about that and know why she was named after this person with an additional name. Why not just name her Flannery O'Connor or something, or just Flannery, or I don't know. I'm just curious about it now. So that messed with my brain for quite a while there. But with AI and YouTube, I feel like this is unsurprising for me just because, I mean, YouTube gets to make its own decisions a lot of the time, but as a part of Alphabet, right, as a part of this big umbrella corporation that is Google. I feel like Google has been very responsible with AI and very concerned about attribution and creative rights and all of those kind of things. Like they were slow to do the rollout with all of the things that they've done and with Bard, and it feels like they're being super experimental and hesitant. They have been surprisingly, I think, judicious about their AI implementation. So this doesn't really surprise me. It does make me proud to be on YouTube. I think this is a good call, and I think that we need more transparency on the internet anyway. But again, this is YouTube. This is the same platform that has had is this video for kids or not for kids for the past decade. This is the same platform that has so many breakdowns like that of reading captions so that they can know what kind of content is in your video. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me, but I guess if anything, it surprised me that it took this long to come out with an official statement on AI restrictions and attribution. But I think it's an all-around good. I know we already kind of discussed your relationship with AI is pretty minimal, but you are certainly, I believe, a YouTube watcher. And so, yeah, this is hopefully good and hopefully makes you more comfortable to be on the platform.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Mayfly says this is a YouTube decision that I agree with, which is good. I think that we just need more of this. We need more transparency, and the more, the better. With that, we're going to wrap up trending headlines and get into our everybody's favorite segment of the show, Cryptic Critiques. That's right. It is time for Cryptic Critiques. These are 5-star games that got 1-star reviews, and we're trying to figure out why did they get those 1-star reviews, and based off of them, what do you think the game is? So, Chris, I will let you play today in the chat if you'd like to play along as well. Just think it, write it down on a piece of paper, whatever you got to do. Don't type it in the chat so that you give it away to Chris until we give her a chance to try one old college try guess. And we're going to get into those prompts. 3 prompts, 3 1-star reviews of a 5-star game to see what you think it might be. Prompt number 1. If I wanted to do chores, I would just do them in real life. Prompt number 1. If I wanted to do chores, I would just do them in real life. Any guesses based off just that one?
Sounds like Stardew.
Stardew. That's a good start. Prompt 2. This was cute. Then my siblings turned it into a political war zone. The second prompt. Not so much Stardew anymore.
I have no idea now.
Okay. Prompt number 3. I think this is a dead giveaway, but we'll see. If there wasn't a pandemic, more people would have realized how mid this is on release. So there you go. There's your 3 prompts. Be thinking. I'll read through them again. If I wanted to do chores, I would just do them in real life. This was cute. Then my siblings turned it into a political war zone. If there wasn't a pandemic, more people would have realized how mid this is on release. Now, again, these are not necessarily reviews that I agree with. These are just 1-star reviews of a 5-star game. Any guesses?
I'm trying to think of games that came out in 2020, but I think Leanne might have it. I don't have a better guess than that.
Leanne does indeed have it. It is Animal Crossing New Horizons. I take offense at that this game is mid. I think that it is a little better than mid. I don't think it's a 5-star game necessarily, but I thought it was a solid 4. I would definitely not give it a 3. But it definitely wasn't hurt by the fact that it came out during the pandemic whenever we were all closed in, and it really took over my life. It was a part of my routine every single day. It's not mid. It's a little better than mid. I definitely think that in comparison to other Animal Crossings, I think it's probably it's not as good as New Leaf, but it takes some waxing and waning. But it sure did look pretty, and it did some cool things, and it did come at the perfect time. With that, we're going to get out of Cryptic Critiques and go into our next segment of our show. That's right, to the Discord. Oh, there's the review. Animal Crossing. Now you know. So if you would like to submit news to our Discord, you can either go to bit.ly/DearTwig, DEARTWIG, or you can go over into our Discord and post the news every Monday at around 8 a.m., 9 a.m. Eastern. I post over in the Ask Questions, Get Answers section of our Discord for nerdy news. And so that would be a great place for you to just submit it directly to there. And I typically try to pick 3 out of there that I find particularly interesting. With that, we're going to do our first story from today, and I haven't had a chance to look at what you highlighted yet. Okay, we're going to get into our first news story for today. Take it away.
This one was brought by Humar Whittle. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is releasing on PS5 on January 19th, 2024, bringing enhanced experiences for both new and returning players. Key features include a new roguelike survival mode, No Return, a guitar free play mode, behind-the-scenes insights with lost levels featuring developer commentary and newly recorded director's commentary. The remaster also boasts improved graphics, PS5's DualSense integration, and comprehensive accessibility options. Special editions and a $10 upgrade for PS4 owners are available. This definitive edition enhances the acclaimed sequel with technological improvements, deepening the engagement with Ellie and Abby's emotional journeys.
All right. So there you go. I believe, unless you have changed drastically in the past week, you have not played Last of Us Part 2. So maybe this is your opportunity. Maybe this is telling you that this is it. This is the moment. We've got this game that's practically brand new that's being remastered.
Yeah,
I do agree with Sneaky.
PS5.
Yeah, that is true. That's a pretty big crux of the issue there. And
I don't think I'll be playing The Last of Us anytime soon because it is a big, expensive game that's just gonna get big and expensive again.
Yep, that's exactly right. And it is good that they're doing the $10 PS5 upgrade, as Sneaky highlighted. I think that's important. It sounds like they're at least including a little bit of bang for buck with the remastered edition, with those commentaries and different modes and things like that. But it's just I don't know. I think that it's curious to me, the method of releasing that they have. It's become a meme at this point of how many times they release and re-release these games. They are exceptional stories. They're great, but it is a weird model that they pursue. So I don't exactly know what the deal is. And as Mayfly highlighted, the Part 1 PC port was definitely not ideal, and they need to do some fixing there. I'm curious if we'll see backlash once again when this one releases, or if people will have kind of gotten over that, if it'll spark anew in people that are going to be playing the game for the first time, if we see the controversy start over, because I would be fine with not having that happen again, because it was quite a lot the first go round. But we'll have to see. Yeah. Let us know in the chat if you're planning on making the plunge and getting either Part 2 for the first time, or doing the up-res and playing again, or doing any of those commentaries thing. I did not know that there were game commentaries. I don't know when that happened. I've never heard of a game building in a commentary system to its gameplay, but I don't even know if that's how it works. It could just be like special behind-the-scenes stuff. But I think that's super fun. Portal had it, says Zando. Good to know. I really, I played Portal exactly one time. Played it for the first time in a couple weeks. Oh, playing it for the first time. Oh, wow. Played a bunch with commentary. I've never even heard of it. So maybe it's just not in my scene of video games, because all the video games that y'all have mentioned are not necessarily my scene. Most of them I have certainly played, but they're not the ones that I obsess over, like my Danganronpas. So yeah, very interesting stuff. Sneaky says playing it for the first time over a couple weeks over Christmas. Are you sure about that decision, Sneaky? Can you play it right after Christmas? Can you maybe let the happy times happen and then get into Last of Us Part 2? Or, actually, maybe that's the perfect time, because you can get real sad and then Christmas will make you happy, and it'll work out great. It'll work out great. I think it'll be fine. Hopefully you enjoy it. I'm glad that you're getting to play it for the first time. Zando says BioShock Remastered also had commentary. I'm so curious now. I feel like now I want to do a deep dive of all the games that contain commentary, find one that I'm particularly drawn to, and give it a whole listen, because I'm so painfully curious about how they would do that. And it just brings up a lot of questions, and we've spent enough time on this segment. So we're going to get into the next one. This is submitted by Sneaky Pig, and has to do with Sega of America. Let's see. This is kind of a harder one. Sega of America faces an unfair labor practice complaint from the Communications Workers of America, or the CWA, over plans to lay off 80 unionized workers following their unionization in April under the Aegis CWA. Allegations of bad faith bargaining arose after Sega proposed offshoring the work of these employees, who primarily handle quality assurance and localization, to its offices in Europe and Japan by February 2024. This move affects 40% of the union's bargaining unit. The CWA accuses Sega of violating negotiation processes by directly informing affected employees of their impending job losses, prompting calls for Sega to make all temporary employees permanent and return to fair bargaining. The issue is now with the National Labor Relations Board, but its resolution may not prevent the layoffs. Yeah, so this is curious to see. I hope that it all goes okay and that the union does what the union is supposed to do, and at the very least that they kind of get a more than a slap on the wrist, even if this is unable to prevent those layoffs. Any thoughts on this one in the chat, either or from Chris?
That sounds bad.
You're not
I
wrong.
often glaze over for some of these because I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
But yeah, I hope they get punished too.
Right. Yes, and I'm glad that they have a union. I mean, I'm glad that the union exists. We literally covered the story when they formed the union earlier in the year, and so I'm hopeful that we see some good come out of that formation, and hopefully just continued change in the games industry that is just full of bad players. And I hope we see better. We deserve better, and the people that make games deserve better. If Jason Schreier does one thing right, it is by doing this again and again and again and again and exposing again and again and getting other people in the game of exposing. And we just need more and more of it. So I'm excited for the future of hopefully hearing less of these stories, not more. All right, next news story. Take it away.
This one was brought by Twyla. In celebration of its 25th anniversary, Valve has released a substantial update for Half-Life, their iconic first-person shooter. This update revitalizes the game with the reintroduction of Half-Life Uplink, a mini-campaign previously exclusive to CD, and the addition of 4 new multiplayer maps. It also includes technical enhancements such as widescreen support, graphical updates, and bug fixes, alongside Steam Deck verification for modern gaming compatibility. Marking this milestone, Half-Life was temporarily made free on Steam, inviting a new generation to experience the seminal title.
I am one of those that still needs to experience the seminal title. We did play the first hour of it on a couple checkathons ago. I think it was the first one of this year, but I have never played Half-Life. I've heard good things about it. I definitely am glad that it launched Valve into the point that they can have Steam, because I'm obsessed with Steam. And I'm curious that it's going to be on the Steam Deck. So that's good. Maybe that'll be what finally gets me to put it back on my backlog and actually RNG and play it. I enjoyed what I played of the hour of it. It was okay. Like I didn't get it quite yet. So I have a feeling this is going to be one that's never going to hit. Like it's just, I don't see a world where it's going to appeal. It would be like getting somebody to go back and play GoldenEye on N64. Like nobody's ever going to get it. It doesn't make any sense because this is a game that was for us then. And I worry that it just wouldn't hold up. But maybe I'm dead wrong and it totally would. So I don't know. Have you ever played Half-Life? Do you have any relationship with it?
I have not. I've not played many. Said it was a shooter? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's FPS, and this is like the iconic, not iconic. There's so many more PC games, but it's definitely like a PC game. Like it's like the PC game that obviously kicked off Steam and stuff like that with Valve. So there's a lot of relationships going on with PC gaming in that world. And yeah, I feel like it's a cult classic. Half-Life is a core game for me back in the day, says Sneaky. I just don't have the core memories. And I worry that even when I went back and played it, I was like, okay, this is neat, I guess. Like it feels like every other shooting game. And I just couldn't get into it. But I want to get into it, and maybe being able to play it on the Steam Deck will be the thing that takes it over the edge for me, because I won't have to worry about where I play it necessarily. But I still think this is cool news. I like to see a game getting some love and getting kind of a rebirth and a resurgence in what it's doing, and anniversary editions are always cool. So glad to see that it exists, even if it's not for me. With that, we're going to get into our next segment in the show.
At this point in nerd history.
At this point in nerd history, everything that came out on this day throughout time and space in the world of nerddom, and then a lot of random ones thrown in. This is one of the coolest days apparently in history. As I was going back in through the games and the movies and the random stuff, it just kept going and going, and I was like, that came out today? That came out today? This happened today? So get ready for a pretty cool lineup of games here. Go ahead and take it away, Chris.
All right. So in 2021, SMT5.
Shin Megami Tensei.
Cool. In 2017, Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. 2014, Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U. 2014, Pokemon Omega Ruby and Pokemon Alpha Sapphire. 2010, Donkey Kong Country Returns. 2004, the Nintendo DS itself.
Yep.
I guess. In 2004, also Alien Hominid on PS2, Feel the Magic, XY/XX, Metroid Prime Hunters, And then in 2003, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. 2002, Ruby Sapphire Japan. 1999, Silver Gold Japan. I'm guessing those are Pokemon.
They are.
1994, Donkey Kong Country. 1990, Super Famicom launches with F-Zero and
Super Mario.
And in 1987, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I know that one. My dad played that one a lot.
There we go.
Maybe not the original one. I don't know, but
Yeah, and that is specifically the Famicom one. So that would have been definitely in Japan. Along with the F-Zero and Super Mario World, also Super Famicom. So both Japan. But yeah, just an incredible day in gaming. Donkey Kong Country, F-Zero, Super Mario World, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, Superstar Saga, Alien Hominid, the Nintendo DS in general. We've got like two of the best generations of Pokemon in there. I personally didn't get into Metroid Prime Hunters just because I didn't get into Metroid Prime. And so I feel people are kind of mixed bag on that one. Some people really, really love it. I didn't play Donkey Kong Country Returns either, but I heard good things about it. A lot of people claim that Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire is their favorite Pokemon game. Shin Megami Tensei 5 was a big deal last year. Super Smash Bros. Obviously a big deal. I'm telling you, huge day for games. Just an absolutely unreal day for games. So continue on in movies, but I had to highlight just how good that was.
Yeah, and I've played Punch-Out and Smash.
Well, there's definitely some random ones in there as well. Feel the Magic I had to highlight just for anybody that might have remembered it. Real weird game. Very unexpected game to be on the launch of the Nintendo DS. A very adult, not very adult, but very adult for the Nintendo game, as you can tell by the XYXX. Like it's pretty clear what it's already talking about is relationships there. And so interesting stuff. All right, continue on. Movies.
2018, Ralph Breaks the Internet. 2014, The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. 2008, Twilight. And 1997, Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Those are some big ones for sure.
Twilight, record breaker. Game changer.
Yeah.
The world has never been the same.
I have finally seen that recently. It was
really
interesting.
Did you see the one that was color corrected? Because I feel like that's the one that everybody keeps memeing on right now, is the one where it just takes it and makes it.
I have no idea. Oh, no, I did not see that. It was definitely blue. The random one, which is why I claimed this. 2014, Super Smash Amiibo First Wave. 1934, the New York Yankees purchased the contract of Joe DiMaggio from San Francisco of the Pacific Coast League. In 1877, Thomas Edison announced the invention of his phonograph. In 1789, North Carolina became the 12th state to ratify the U.S. Constitution. And in 1694, and in 1694, French author and philosopher Jean-Francois Voltaire was born. At age 65, he spent only 3 days writing Candide.
Yes. I thought it was fascinating. It wasn't the day that Candide was written or published. That would have been even cooler. But still, it's not every day that you get to bring up Voltaire. So I was like, sure, why not throw that in the random facts? And,
it's like,
yeah. Some big deal stuff in there. I'm not a big sports guy, but even I know the name Joe DiMaggio and the Yankees. And so that's a pretty humongous deal as well. Just a big day. I don't know what the deal is, but apparently we need to keep in mind November 21st throughout time and space is just a real cool day. It's a day that cool things happen. So neat stuff. I did see in the chat, Zando mentioned that Field of Love XYXX game. It was super childish. And then mentioned the first mission being to rub your stomach and throw up a goldfish. I remember that. Absolutely. Like 100%. I can picture that exact scene because I feel like that was in the demo. And I remember playing the demo in like a GameStop, or it actually may have been a KB Toys. May have been a KB Toys that I played the demo in. But regardless, I played that demo and that was the part that I got to. But I did feel like I was so like, I would have been very young when the DS came out. And so I felt very risque even playing that game. The cover art is very like suggestive. And granted, it probably was a super childish game. I've never gone back and played it. But I do remember that first mission pretty vividly, and that's pretty much it. But a pretty cool day. Lots of exciting stuff there. So yeah, a good at this point in nerd history. That's why it's one of my favorite segments of the show, even if it's not the crowd favorite. It's still one of mine. We're going to get into our next segment of the show, which is, of course, time for some upcoming releases. What is happening of the upcoming week in Geek? What games, what movies, TV shows, all that good stuff. What is happening in the future? We only have one TV show coming out, but it does look like a pretty interesting one with a pretty interesting cast coming back together, where we have on the 26th a show called Faraway Downs hitting Hulu, starring Hugh Jackman and Nicole Kidman, which is a fun lineup of two pretty bigwigs that have certainly been together before. So curious to know what actually comes out of that show and if it is worth watching or not. Just looking at the source material of it, it did not look like anything that would interest me, but if it does good, sure, why not? Some movies that are coming out in the next week. For a moment there, I thought I was like, I had died and gone back to like the 90s because of two of these movies. On the 21st, we have Bye Bye Barry coming to Prime. We have Leo, which is an animated movie about, I believe, a chameleon or something on Netflix. And then the random one is Urkel Saves Santa, the movie, is coming to theaters. I have no idea why Urkel's back, but Urkel's back. On the 22nd, Genie is coming to Peacock. And then again, a throwback to the 90s, Good Burger 2 is coming to Paramount. Maestro, which is a game that had a little bit of controversy behind it, with Bradley Cooper donning a prosthetic nose for a historically Jewish conductor, is hitting Netflix. Ridley Scott's Napoleon is hitting Apple Plus as well as theaters. Saltburn is hitting Prime, which I believe is a Barry Keoghan movie that's coming out. I like him a lot, so I'm curious to know how that one does. And then Velveteen Rabbit is coming to Apple Plus. And then the not so much beloved Wish, the latest Disney film, is going to be hitting theaters as well. People are complaining that it feels a little bit like AI was told to write a musical in the form of Lin-Manuel Miranda, and it didn't do such a good job. So I'm hearing bad things about it, but we'll see where it continues to go. In the world of comics, only one comic coming out this week on the 21st. Today, we have a comic called Boxed hitting the scene. Not too many games coming out either. I don't know if the games industry in general is just kind of taking the week off for Thanksgiving, as well they should. But we only have just a few to get through. So first, on the 21st, coming out today, we have Volfaris Mechatherion, which is a shmup that is hitting the gaming industry today. It is Worldless. It's Worldless, which is a Metroidvania coming out today, another indie game. Coming out tomorrow, Train Valley 2 Community Edition. Coming out on the 24th, we have Evil Diary, which is a cute-looking survival action game. And then Guns and Spurs 2, which looks like what Red Dead Redemption 2 would be if it wasn't. And then on the 27th, we have a VR game coming out called Suicide God or Sewer Slide Guy. I don't know what I can get away with saying. VR Deluxe. And then in the world of DLC, coming out today, is the latest DLC from Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. The DLC Lord of Nothing is coming out today. So interesting stuff. Let us know if any of those games got your attention or if you thought they might be interesting, or any of those movies or TV shows. Sounds like a bit of a slow week in the world of gaming particularly, but in all honesty, we could use a slow week in gaming after the year that we've had, and honestly, we could use a slow rest of the year if I may be so bold. We really don't need anything else for a while because we've had so much come out that I could handle a break. With that, does anything interest you, Chris? I want to make sure that I give you the opportunity to speak if you thought any of those sounded interesting.
Yeah, the Velveteen Rabbit. I don't have Apple, but I loved that story as a kid so much. So
It looks really good
that's
too.
really cute. And then I've been seeing stuff for Saltburn, and I'm trying to figure out what it is. Is it a Knives Out property?
I don't think so. I feel like I would have heard.
Right, that's what I was thinking. I think the font looks like the Knives Out font, and it confused me.
Is it Ryan
and
Johnson? Is he behind it?
Ryan Johnson?
What's his name?
I
It's
don't.
not Ryan Johnson. What's his name? Ryan. Is his name Ryan Johnson? Now I'm having a brain fart.
It's directed by Emerald Fennell. Produced by Margot Robbie.
How about that? Yes, it's Ryan Johnson. Goodness, I was absolutely losing my mind there. Yeah, it's not produced by him. So yeah, not in the Knives Out universe, but like I said, I do like Barry Keoghan. So I'm very curious about that one and to see how it goes. I read that and his name is Robert Paulson. It's Zando. 100% came up. And as far as Ryan Johnson for me may fly, all of his ungoods of Star Wars have been completely undone by Knives Out for me. I don't even consider him related to Star Wars. Not that I hated his production. I'm not as dramatic as some people certainly have been about the production. I think they're fine. But Knives Out redeems him 100%. Knives Out is my favorite thing. So absolutely love all of those productions.
Okay.
takes those out of the box. Okay. With that, before we continue down this rabbit hole, but we could continue these conversations on the Discord after that, which I'll mention here at the end of the show. But before we do that, we got to get into, of course, our final segment of the show. And that's right, it is our meme of the week. And the meme of the week this time is an unjoke, a joke that doesn't exist here from Maybe 30 Bats, a little twist of irony. How it started, and it's somebody cranking the car, and then how it's going, and pressing the gas. So there you go. A joke that's not a joke, that's just kind of stating them facts. It got the most reactions. Love it. Every now and again, I need just a no joke to really, especially if you're like slap happy, like if you stay up until the middle of the night and then you see one of these and you're like, it's just so dumb that you can't help but just die laughing at it. Those are some of my favorite laughs out there. If you would like to be our meme of the week next week, be sure to use our Memes and Goofs channel over on our Discord. That is the best way to get there. And if you would like that to happen, then that is what you need to do. With that, we're going to get into the end of the show. But before we do, Chris, would you like to say any shout outs or anything going on in your life going on right now? Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah. Not a whole lot going on, just final papers and exams. So.
Yeah, you got all
but
the
I'm
good
around
stuff.
in the Discord as much as I can be.
Yeah, you're busy. That's a lot. I remember those days, and I could not wait for classes to end so that I could get a break and be done. So totally hear that, feel that. Folks, we are going to wrap up here, and we're not going to end the night. So if you would like to continue hanging out with us, I'm actually going to end stream whenever I end with our 3 things. That's why we're going to start doing this. But I want to encourage you to join our Discord if you haven't already, because on Tuesday nights, once TWIG wraps up, we're going over to the Discord and continuing to play more games together and hang out in a room in that space. So that's what we're going to start doing after TWIG on Tuesday nights, and I hope that you'll consider doing that. So if you haven't already, discord.gg/checkpointchurch will get you in. You can find the link on our website and all sorts of places, and we would love to see you there. With that, this has been TWIG, your weekly, geekly, family-friendly news show delivered live on twitch.tv/checkpointchurch and our other various live streaming platforms. Sometimes you can hear us on TikTok, I hear, every single week, keeping your family connected to the world of nerdy news. If you watched this far, then you likely enjoyed this one. So remember to give us a 5-star on your favorite podcasting app. Click that like button, and remember to recommend the show to all of your favorite nerds out there. Is there TWIG next week? Yes, indeed. We do have TWIG next week. So you guys have got more nerdy news coming at you a week from today. And with that, we're going to end this one as we always do with our 3 things that we believe to be true about every single one of you out there. Whether you believe in God, don't believe in God, go to church, don't go to church, hate God, hate church. We still believe these things to be absolutely true about every single one of you out there. Number 1, that God loves you, like really, really loves you. Number 2, we love you. We want community with you. That's what we're doing here. That's why we do things like TWIG and all these wonderful spaces. Number 3, that you, yes, you matter. You are a person of sacred worth. The world is a better place. Why? Because you are in it. Folks, with that, until the next time that I see you, which will not be Thursday because we don't have a stream, but it will be next Monday because we do. I look forward to seeing you then, and have a very happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye!